have taught me amazing things. They've shown me that equines are the bridge to a deeper understanding of the meaning of life and a better sense of ourselves in this world. I'm Meredith Hodges, and I'd like to share with you some of the people I've met and the experiences that I've had along life's journey with those magnificent mules.
Colorful Colorado, with its majestic Rocky Mountains and wide open spaces, also boasts the Loveland Long Years Museum and Sculpture Park at the Lucky 3 Ranch, home of some of the finest mules and donkeys in the world. This working ranch is just 40 miles north of Denver. World-renowned authority on mules and donkeys, Meredith Hodges, invites you and your family for an adventure in learning you won't want to miss. Come visit the Lucky 3 Ranch, meet Meredith, her champion mules and donkeys, and take in the beauty of her long years art for the experience of a lifetime.
Hi, I'm Meredith Hodges, and welcome to the Lucky 3 Ranch Training Tips. I get a lot of letters and emails from people with training and behavior questions about their equines. So I'm going to take you back to the beginning with a series of training tips that work for all equines. Proprioception is defined as the unconscious perception of movement and spatial orientation arising from stimuli within the body itself. Equines are not born with an awareness of their own bodies. For instance, the equine that steps on your foot does so because he's not in full control of his own body. He doesn't necessarily know where his foot is going to land when he picks it up and puts it back down. If he was made aware of his body through the correct kinds of leading exercises, he would already be in a secure balance, a balance that allows him to deliberately and safely pick up his foot and carefully put it back down. The equine that steps on the hose during bathing is again unaware of his own body and doesn't necessarily know where his foot will land and really doesn't care. However, the equine that steps around the hose is exhibiting strength and security in his balance, which means he's attentive and can deliberately place his feet where he wants them to be. The equine that moves when being mounted is simply not strong in good balance. He's not stable enough to maintain his own balance when the rider pulls the saddle sideways during mounting. The equine that has had the benefit of good posture leading training will be able to hold his four-square stable body position during mounting. The equine that is secure in his balance with body awareness can strategically place his feet wherever you want them, which is very helpful during a demanding process such as taking an X-ray when he's required to stand on blocks. Just like any athlete, your equine needs to be slowly and correctly trained for all of his activities, including carrying a rider. Round pen exercises cannot accomplish this by themselves. Leading training assures that he will learn to travel correctly and to bend his body through the ribcage into the arc of a circle, while remaining erect with sufficient forward motion, which is called impulsion. Working with proprioception or body awareness in the beginning during leading training will later allow your equine under saddle to do correct and simultaneous lead changes front and back, and beautifully balance jumps from this newly acquired balance foundation.
The most important joint for horses when they flex and extend or move their head in a yes motion is mostly at the joint here. We call this the occipital atlantal joint, or just the joint that is the yes joint. And so this is the joint here. So if a horse is having problems flexing at the bit, particularly with dressage, having problems collecting there, then this is one of the joints we want to look at. The order that I would look at that would be pain. So I would feel if there's pain in any of the muscles over the pole region, I would ask the horse to lower their head down, feel the muscles here like you're giving somebody a neck massage. You can feel that same on the horse there, see if there's muscle spasms there. And then finally for the joint stiffness, then as the horse is standing there, then we can flex the horse's head down and we can cause some motion at this joint here. And you can see that it's designed mostly for moving up and down or yes motion. Then the next joint down that we're looking at is between the first and second cervical vertebrae. The cervical vertebrae here are made up of 7 vertebrae. Most mammals, just like us, we have 7 vertebrae in our neck. So we just number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The motion mostly between 1 and 2 is no motion. And so when we have a horse that can bend their head to one side, but we have problems with them bending back to the other side, then this is probably one of the joints we want to look at. Sometimes if there is arthritis, what we'll see is that some of the muscles in those areas atrophy or shrink down. So on one side of your horse's neck or mule's neck, you'll see that there's good muscle development there. And then on the other side that there's actually a dip in the area, and that may be related to some sort of pain, arthritis, nerve injury on those sides. So those are things you need to look at. In the neck region here, the primary motion that we see is mostly moving side to side. So a horse can turn around and bite a fly on their side, or they can reach down below their feet and eat grain off of the ground or hay off the ground. So mostly side to side motion and up and down motion in their neck. So this is the thoracic region or the wither region. The wither region, the vertebrae in the wither region are characterized by having very tall spinous processes. And then the area where we actually sit in the saddle is actually right behind the spinous processes, or the tall spinous processes. So the saddle is actually sitting in this area here. And the shoulder blades from the horse's front legs come up in this area, so they cover a lot of the vertebrae here. So sometimes it's very hard to assess, especially the first 2 or 3 vertebrae here. And then from the back of the vertebrae here, then mostly what we're going to do is we're going to grab the top of the spinous process here, or the bone, and then we'll just move it back and forth, and there should be a little bit of motion there, and there shouldn't be any pain. So again, we're looking for a horse, if they have pain in this wither region, the most common reason why they would have pain in this region is when horses get scared, they flip over backwards and they land on their withers, and because these are the tallest vertebrae or the bones in this region then they oftentimes break these off. They fracture these, and so then they'll have a flat withers or be very painful there. So that's one thing we need to look at when we have a horse that comes out that's been flipped over backwards. Make sure they didn't hit the back of their head, or make sure that they didn't break their withers here. As far as the thoracic region here is made up of 18 thoracic vertebrae. In people, we have 12 thoracic vertebrae. Depends on which books you read. Some say that mules have a few more or a few less thoracic vertebrae in this region here. Horses can have a few more or a few less in this region too, but in general the bones are all shaped about the same. Obviously, if we're going to have a smaller horse or a pony or a donkey, then these vertebrae, the spinous processes will be shorter, or the vertebrae themselves will be smaller, or bigger horses. This is from a thoroughbred racehorse, so they were about 1,100, 1,200 pound horse. So most of the motion that we see in this area is mostly related to side motion, so it's more lateral bending, or it can also be for rotation. So if a horse jumps a fence and you see his hind legs rotated off to the side, this is usually the area where that rotation occurs. Another unique feature about the thoracic vertebrae here is that the thoracic vertebrae actually has 12 different articulations or joint surfaces on it. There's no other bone in the whole horse's body or person's body that has more different joints on their body. But that's oftentimes confusing because we don't think that the horse's withers or their back moves very much. But why would an area of their back that doesn't move very much have 12 different joints on it, on a single vertebrae? And that might be that because each one of the joints has to move a little bit, or the ribs have to move back and forth a little bit. So this is the lumbar region. This is what we would call the loin, or the back edge of the saddle, and actually the saddle comes back over a few of the first lumbar vertebrae here. And so this is actually the point of the croup is at this junction here. So this is where the lumbosacral joint is. So the lumbar vertebrae mostly characterize their joints lay up and down or vertically like this. So mostly what we see is that they can do flexion and extension. So we see flexion and extension mostly in this area, and then up in the thoracic area is mostly side to side or some up and down motion in that region. The pelvis of the horse is facing in this direction here. These are the what we call tuber sacrali. Some people may call these hunter's bumps, and these can be either more prominent or sometimes uneven. These are the tuber coxae, or the points of the hips out here. This is actually the hip joint, and then this is back what we call the seat bone. So on people, when we're riding on a horse, we actually sit on the seat bones like this. But since the horses are more quadrupeds, then their pelvis is shaped like this, and then this is the birth canal in this area here. And if we look at the bottom side of the joints here, we can see that there's little articulations here, and these are the little joint surfaces for the sacroiliac joints. And then this is going to be the rest of the croup that you can feel for the bones out here. So again, when we're evaluating the horses, we're going to check for bone pain. So oftentimes the only bone that we can feel here are the spinous processes, because again, a lot of the joints are buried deep between lots of muscle. There's 4 to 6 inches of muscle here. So the only part that I can really feel is along the spinous processes. I can feel along here, or sometimes we can pinch along here to see if there's pain in this region, or we can run our fingers down here along the spinous process checking for bone pain. Finally, for the joint stiffness, there's not much motion at the sacroiliac joint. It's a very stable joint, and mostly what we're going to have is we're going to have flexion and extension again right at the lumbosacral joint in this region here. So we can show you how we can flex and extend in that region. Okay, all right. And I think that's all I have. Okay.
Here's an engineer. How did you know that? So we go see a huge mule. Because this heck, you're fine. Stroke with the hair, that's all you gotta do. Okay, come on, boys, let's go. Come on.
Every owner knows that a well-taken care of equine is a happy equine. More and more, a technique being used to enhance our animals' overall conditioning is equine massage.
What you have to realize is you're training an animal in their muscle tissue, and their muscle tissue has to be able to perform the task that you're asking the animal to perform. If you're having a hard time doing the advanced things, you need to go back to the beginning. The massage helps break the pattern of the neurons that fire to that muscle, that tell it to contract, to contract, to contract.
With proper instruction, just about anyone can learn to give their equine the benefit of basic massage.
I've been working on equines for a long time, and a lot of people look at you and hope that you can just come out and make an animal better. And you can't do that. It takes two pieces, the massage as well as the exercise. And the exercise is actually more important than the massage. And that's something that people really have to understand. And Meredith's tapes do that. And a lot of people don't want to take that long a time frame. They just want to do their 60 days, get on the animal and ride them. But that's not really where you can go with their backs.
For more intensive therapeutic massage, be sure to consult a professional. Equine massage not only enhances your animal's health and overall condition, it's also a deeply personal and rewarding bonding experience for both of you.
Many of you who love your horses also love your dogs. This type of massage can be beneficial for all your pets. If you want to improve your animal's quality of life, I can help. I can either teach you how to do it, or I can massage your dogs for you. Contact me at dogmassage.com.
Hi, I'm Meredith Hodges, and welcome to the Lucky 3 Ranch. I get a lot of letters and emails from people with training and behavior questions about their equines. So I'm going to take you back to the beginning with a series of training tips that work for all equines. When I refer to an equine being in good posture, I mean that there is even weight distribution and optimum efficiency of balanced movement throughout the body. Generally speaking, like people who are in bad posture, equines in bad posture are inclined to move with too much weight slung forward, causing them to lower the head and neck, which puts stress on the entire top line, including the spine. To counter this, teach your animal to engage the hindquarters sufficiently to initiate impulsion and suspension, or lift, from the rear. This will lighten the stress over the top line by stretching the spine and increasing the space between the vertebrae. This, in turn, will elevate the front quarters and give your equine more freedom of movement. Much like Pilates exercises do for humans, my passive leading exercises teach good posture by passively improving core muscle strength and balance. For instance, it is not advisable to train a Western pleasure equine by simply training at walk, trot, and canter on the rail of the arena. The arena fence forms a visual barrier that virtually supports the equine, but will offset his ideal balance. The repetition of the same movement over and over strengthens only certain muscle groups and ignores other muscle groups entirely. The result is an animal that becomes pattern trained and cannot effectively maintain his own balance without the visual assistance of the rail. During your beginning leading lessons, break things down into easier, doable steps that are designed to gradually build strength over a longer period of time. You will find that it will take less time to teach more advanced lessons later under saddle or in harness. Begin good posture training right away with good leading practices, and you will have a much happier, healthier, and more confident performance partner under saddle or in harness.
Artwork inspired by mules and donkeys is quickly gaining popularity. Tennessee mule artist Bonnie Shields has the uncanny ability to capture the fun-loving nature of these free-spirited animals.
They were like a horse, but they weren't like a horse. They had a little different body. They used their body a different way. They certainly had a different mental attitude. So they started intriguing me as an artist, and I kept finding the differences between them and the horse, both physically and in their reaction to things. So that started my love affair with the mule. When you deal with the mule, you're not always in charge. So it takes a little bit of a different kind of personality to appreciate the mule and to work with her.
She was the only artist that could really capture the essence of mules and donkeys. Because mules and donkeys are really good teachers and teachers of life lessons. And Bonnie has just been an inspiration to me ever since. Wow, how'd it do?
Whoa. I know that all through the years, Meredith gives tours to the ranch. But what a wonderful addition to this whole ranch would be a sculpture park just for the mules and the donkeys. So I just thought it was an awesome idea. And then she let me be part of it. It's a wonderful thing, and when you come to visit the Lucky 3, it's just an added bonus. Mule people, you reckon I can get Meredith to make a tape on how to teach your mule to shovel snow? I sure gonna try. Wish me luck.
Just a wonderful human being, and working with her is always humorous. She is just funny as the day is long, and so I thought that she would be absolutely perfect as the illustrator for the Jasper series that I wanted to do.
The Daydreamers was inspired by a thing that I saw years ago. I heard about this family up in Kentucky. They'd been working tobacco out in the field with their mules. And one of the boys, he was laying across this mule's back, laying in the shade. They'd been working, and he was resting on the back of his mule in the shade. That just kind of stuck with me, and I thought, gee, a kid like that, you know, he thinks he's stuck on the farm. He thinks he's stuck doing all this terrible old work, and he's laying up there and he's daydreaming about getting away from it all. So that's where Daydreamer came from. Sculpture's not the only thing I do. Matter of fact, I got into sculpture maybe a little later in my career. Mostly, I was known for my pencil drawings and my acrylic paintings for many, many years.
Long ears art. It may be whimsical, like a cartoon, or it may simply be breathtaking. Long ears are taking their place in the world of art, and it's the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Having problems? Need an accessible trainer? Whether you're just a weekend trail rider or showing, the principles of training are the same. You want a safe and reliable equine companion. Produced by Meredith Hodges, Training Mules and Donkeys, a logical approach to long ears, will help you build a good working relationship with your animal. Meredith reveals the secrets of successful maintenance and resistance-free training that can be implemented by anyone, resulting in a satisfying partnership between you and your equine. Meredith answers your training questions promptly via mail or phone. Her books are great general resources and her videos are detailed, outlining the day-to-day exercises needed to produce a versatile and dependable equine companion. Meredith's techniques work with all equines. Do you have children, grandchildren? Check out Jasper, the story of a mule. For more information, check out our website at www.lucky3ranch.com or call 1-800-816-7566.
Mules are working their way into the hearts of people everywhere. If you'd like to know more about these wonderful long-eared animals, you can contact us at 1-800-816-7566 or get on our website at lucky3ranch.com.
Dusty old quilt hung crooked on a couch in an old stone house by a lazy river. Songbirds singing to me like slow